Lights out, we're underway. Motorsport Republica Podcast.
I mean, you have a bloody hectic season, don't you? So you want to enjoy your off season. And, I suppose you're probably itching to talk about MotoGP again there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a while since, or it feels like it's been a while since Valencia, 13, 14 weeks. So ready to get back into it, ready to get some sunshine. I haven't seen too much of the yellow thing in the sky back at home in the UK this winter. Chomping at the bit to get back at it.
That's awesome. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by the voice of MotoGP.
Yep.
Can I say that, James?
Yeah, definitely can.
The voice of MotoGP, Matt Birt. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. We're just saying off camera, we've been trying to do this for a while, so we appreciate you finding time in your busy morning over there.
No, thanks for your patience, guys. As I've just said to you before, I'm sort of terrible at sort of keeping tabs on people that are trying to get hold of me. Sometimes I'm amazed myself that I actually do get to travel the world and get myself around the world for 22 Grand Prix. So yeah, you finally caught up with me. Pleasure to catch up with you guys. Hope you're well down under.
No, I appreciate it. It is very strange hearing the voice of MotoGP talking to us. I'm so used to you calling Marc Marquez goes up the inside or someone, or Bezecchi. It's very funny.
It is. It is. Mate, what are we thinking for 2026? Have we got some sort of early predictions or something you're sort of itching to talk about or anything like that?
Like you've gone with the put me on the spot question.
Oh, yeah. Give the people what they want.
Predictions for 2026. Oh, I mean, I'm hardly sticking my neck on the chopping block here, guys. This is going to sound as like no surprise whatsoever, but I can't really see past Marc for the championship. I certainly hope it's going to be a little bit closer than what it was last year. I mean, obviously, Marc just completely destroyed the field last year. Kind of what we expected once he was on the factory Ducati. I think I said it in commentary right at the very first round in Thailand last year, almost a year ago. This is what can happen when you put the best rider or one of the best riders in history on the best bike in the best team. These kind of things can happen. So hopefully the competition is going to close up. We're going to see Marc push a little bit harder this year. But when push comes to shove, I'm sorry for anybody that thinks we're going to get anything other than a 93 victory for the championship, because I can't see it, guys. I just can't see. He's too good. Too good.
Yeah. We say this a lot. I mean, there was a lot of speculation last year of Bez getting on the bike and if he could have worked with that bike early in the season. But and I said to you a couple of weeks ago, a one-on-one battle between Bez and Marc came out on top every single time. So it's going to be a big jump for him.
It is. I mean, obviously, second half of last year, Bez and Aprilia were phenomenal. I mean, they had a great run. Super, super difficult year for both, missing Jorge Martin for much of it. Marc having to pick up all the development work himself, having never been a factory rider before that as well. I mean, I think he shouldered that responsibility brilliantly, and he sort of grew into that role. You can see maybe at the start it was maybe a little bit daunting for him, but as the season wore on, he really did sort of mature into that role. And he was the only guy that really could take the fight to Marc. I mean, he won the last two Grand Prix in super dominant fashion, led every lap in Portimao, led every lap in Valencia, and it was awesome to watch, wasn't it? I mean, brilliant to watch, but there was that caveat there. There was always that thought at the back of your mind, Aprilia are doing this, Marco is doing this, but Marc Marquez isn't there. Marc wasn't there for those last four Grand Prix. So I think if Aprilia come straight out the gate this year and are picking up where they left off in 2025, we could see Marco as a real big threat to Marc for the championship. The signs in Malaysia were pretty positive for the first test in Sepang. Looks like Ducati are maintaining their sort of position at the top of the championship. But as I said at the start of the program, guys, let's just hope. I mean, we're all neutrals. We all want to see great racing. Although I can see some of those helmets in the background. Maybe you're not as neutral as me. But
we've got one Marquez, one under Tom's head, but that's about it.
You've got he's that, fair play. The 93-46. We're not going to mention Sepang 2015 at any point in this.
There's a lot of that talk this year. It's funny. I grew up as such a big Rossi fan, like most of us did, and Marquez, for me, is someone who's just become just a god in MotoGP in the last few years. I mean, what he's done on the Ducati is just amazing. I didn't think he was going to be able to do it. So, it's great for Liberty Media coming in with those two. Still tension because it's just a story that just keeps rewriting itself, doesn't it?
It does, and it doesn't matter how much people sort of say, "Oh, we need to move on, we need to stop talking about it." It will never go away
No.
because it was such a monumental story. Yeah, I mean, it's 11 years now, and it's just such a fundamental part of the history of the championship and massive story. I mean, I was there trackside at the time. It was just unbelievable. It still blows your mind now to think about it. And as I said, I think in a podcast pre-Christmas, it was a story that shaped the championship, and it still does to this day. That dynamic of Marquez Rossi is still being felt in the paddock right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And like it was just during the times where social media was really kicking off, and I've never seen anything divide fans as much as the kick or the alleged kick, I guess. Marquez going to Magello and he had to have like security. Like it just turned the sport on its head.
Yeah, I'm glad you threw in an alleged there for your sake about the kid. Yeah, I mean, that was my first year at the commentary box 2015 with Dorna, and obviously there'd been that build up throughout the season. There'd been Argentina, where it kind of seemed to be the instigator. Then there was the Assen chicane incident, and it was all kind of evolving and bubbling up under the surface. But I don't think anybody really kind of felt that it was going to explode to the extent that it did. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you guys watching that Phillip Island race where there was the accusations afterwards, and then of course we went to Malaysia the week after, and obviously being part of the media, being behind the scenes at that time. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, it would be really cool to relive something like that again. I mean, like you say, guys. I mean, can you imagine that happening now? The sort of storm it would create now with social media being as influential and as powerful and as dominant it is in any kind of walk of life, let alone elite level sport, which we all love. I mean, yeah, it would just be off the scale now.
It would really be off the scale. But going back to 2015 and being in the paddock, it must have been an incredible scene being in there. Did you kind of realize at the time how big this was going to be?
I don't think anybody, I mean, truthfully, I'm not really sure, as I just mentioned, I don't think anybody really kind of felt that their relationship was sour to the point that it was going to um, explode like it did on and off the track. I mean, I think obviously you're dealing with two of the greatest in history, two alpha males, two guys that are just born to win. It's in their DNA to win. Hate losing, can't stand losing. Yeah, I think Mick Durham mentioned it the best. For Mick, it was like second is first loser. You're here to win, and that's it. So I mean, you could sort of get the feeling that from Assen onwards there was that sort of simmering tension. But I mean, I think we all watched that race in 2015 at Phillip Island. It was an absolute classic, and I don't think any of us thought that there was any kind of shenanigans going on, that there were sort of dark forces at play from Marc at all. So then the week later to go to Malaysia and for Valentino to unload like he did. I mean, I remember standing at the back of that press conference in Sepang, and when he started unloading, I was just like looking around at everybody else and just going, wow, where has this come from? And I think everybody in the room was genuinely aghast. And what really stands out in my mind is, Valentino went for Marc big time. Was sort of kind of almost sort of questioning his integrity as a rider. He was deliberately, in his opinion, meddling with the championship. Well, on that day, that straight after that press conference, I actually had a sit down interview with Valentino for Dorna. And so he walked out of that press conference like nothing had happened. He'd just thrown the biggest hand grenade in the world into the MotoGP paddock. 3 seconds later, I'm in a little room with him at the back of the Malaysia press conference. And he's just like normal. Ciao, Matt, how's it going? Sits down. We have a great 20-minute interview. Like nothing had happened. There was just like this switch that he had. You could do a whole 2-hour podcast about 2015. There's so much to talk about. Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, can't we stop talking about it? But as I mentioned before, it's such a massive part of modern day MotoGP and still is.
That's incredible. And even just that little tip that you said then, like he'd thrown this massive grenade in and then you sat down with him for 20 minutes like nothing happened. Like I've never heard that before. And it's just such an interesting take and interesting little piece in his psyche of how he obviously is as well. Because it's yeah, we still love talking about it. It's wild. But it's great to hear it from
Yeah.
someone like you that was literally in that room.
Well, we always have a joke when we have guests on or we're doing something. It always just turns into Rossi Marquez, and we've had you on for 30 seconds, and that's all we've talked about. So that's all the comments we're going to get. Guys, come on, enough.
Yeah, I can see it coming now. Yeah.
So 2015, you were working for Dorna. You were on commentary.
Yes.
I mean, so all 2015, what an amazing experience first year. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't a bad first year to step into the booth, was it? That's all. Yeah, with Nick Harris. Yeah, I mean, I was a journalist. I don't know if you guys know, I was a journalist for 20 years in MotoGP. I started. Actually, we're recording this on February the 12th, and my story with MotoGP started on February the 12th, 1996.
Oh, wow.
30 years ago today, guys.
Wow.
I walked into the offices of Motorcycle News here in the UK, and this year's their off-road reporter. So for the first 2 months, you can imagine what it was like in the UK winter, February 1996, going to motocross events. I seem to spend my whole life just getting towed out of muddy fields by tractors.
Yeah, of course.
Covering motocross events. And at the time, I initially applied for the MotoGP reporter's job. They didn't feel like I was quite ready because I'd come straight from local journalism here in the UK. 3 months later, they still hadn't really found anybody suitable to do the MotoGP job. They were like, "Hey, Matt, you've done a really good job. Are you still up for doing MotoGP?" And of course, I was like, "Yeah, come on, guys. That's what I initially applied for." And then, so in May of '96, I went to Spanish Grand Prix. Jerez '96 was my first ever race. Of course, the famous Mick Doohan, Alex Crivier track invasion group.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my first ever GP.
Chaos follows you, I reckon, Matt.
Yeah, Matt, you're the funny instigator.
What a way to start. I remember thinking actually that I mean, Jerez obviously still is one of the blue ribbon events, the calendar, but I mean, even then it seemed to be even more wild in the mid '90s. I mean, downtown Jerez was like the bloody Wild West. It was absolutely insane. It was crazy. I mean, fair play to those guys. They know how to party down there. And it was just an incredible. I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I remember my initial thoughts were, I'm going to do this for a couple of years. I'm going to have an opportunity to see the world, and I'll probably maybe move on and do something else. And 30 years later, guys, here I am, still sitting here talking to you guys about MotoGP and still being very much, obviously, heavily involved in it.
Well, credit to you for still having the passion after 30 years to even talk about MotoGP off your off season. There's, people like us, because 30 years and anything's a long time, but to obviously watch it evolve how it has and then to still be so passionate about it is amazing. It really is.
Look, guys, I've said it a million times before. I've got the best job in the world. I get to travel the world. I get to hang out with really good people at Dorna and in the paddock, and I get to commentate on trackside, talking about one of the most spectacular sports on the planet. I mean, what's not to love about it? Of course, yeah. I mean, you make a lot of sacrifices. You spend a lot of time away from home. I was actually, for the birth I've got two children. For the birth of my first one, my daughter, I was actually in Indianapolis. Oh, wow. She came about 3-4 weeks premature. She was early. So I talked about my partner going, "Oh, do I go? What do we do? Do you think I should go?" And she was like, "Well, yeah, go, because if nothing happens, you're going to be like a bear with a sore head hanging around the house thinking, oh, I should have gone." So I was like, "Okay, yeah." We talked about it for a long time. I went to Indianapolis Friday night. I was just in the hotel, got a phone call. I could see it was my partner. I'm thinking, oh, shit. Yeah, yes. And guess what happened? Yeah, she went into labour, and I think I wore out the carpet in my room in Indianapolis that night because I was just pacing up and down the room, waiting for the news. But and I've said it before as well, guys. Of course, it's human nature where you sometimes you get a little bit pissed off with your job, or you've had a bad day, or you're tired. But I always just look in the mirror back in the hotel or whatever night and just give myself a proper whack around the face and go, mate, come on, you've got a job that so many people would love to do. And yeah, 30 years is a long time, but I've still got massive passion for it, and I really hope and genuinely hope that passion comes through for the viewers watching at home, that they can. I know, I'm more than aware that MotoGP has an incredibly knowledgeable and an incredibly passionate fan base, and I just hope that we convey the fact that we're just as knowledgeable and we're just as passionate. We are just as passionate about it as what you guys are watching at home.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I'll give you a really good example for this is the last lap of Marc Marquez on Motegi about to take the crown in 2025, how you summarized his comeback and just how you articulated yourself was incredible. We actually used that for one of our podcasts. Was that something you pre-planned, that you wrote notes down, or did it just come to you naturally?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'd love to sit here and go, that was all just off the cuff, off the top of the head. Some of it was, some of it's not. I mean, I think for me, the two most important parts of the championship are the first race, because obviously there's been a long winter break and everybody's kind of like, chomping at the bit to get back to the action. That's always a key race for me. And then it's the race that the MotoGP World Champion gets crowned. And I think, normally it's every World Championship has a story, but 2025, that story was something extra special. It was something straight out of Hollywood, as I've mentioned before. This was, when you look at what happened to Marc in 2020, when you look at what he'd been through since, it was just a phenomenal sporting story, but a phenomenal human story. And I really wanted to sort of get that across. Like, this is not just something that any normal human being can do. It's not something that any normal human being can pull off. So as much as you try and prepare for that moment, you can't, I can't have a full script and just read it, because I don't know how the race is going to pan out. Marc might be eighth. Marc might be trying to make a last lap overtake. I don't know when Lewis is going to be talking. But there were a couple. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. There was 3 or 4 lines. I'm like, I thought about them. Because when you are talking about, everything that we say, everything that we do in the commentary box is documenting history. And it's going to be.
James, MotoGP round 1 in Thailand is just around the corner. How excited are you?
Bro, so excited.
We have the package for you. OnTrackExperiences.com are offering a 3-day paddock pass, rider meet and greet, a garage tour, lunch in the back of the pits for all 3 days, plus a service road access pass.
Tom, that is amazing. Not only that, we may be in Thailand for round 1, and you might even be able to come on the podcast with us. Register your interest at ontrackexperiences.com now.
Listen to for years and years to come. You'll be judged on what you say in that particular moment. And there are times in the sport when you don't want to get it wrong. You want to say the right thing. You want to make sure that you are doing that moment justice, and you are making it known. Of course, MotoGP fans will know the magnitude of the accomplishment and the significance of the achievement, but you also want to make sure that you are acknowledging that yourself. So I mean, it was just a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to be in the commentary box for that moment. It is for anything. I love being in the commentary box for FP1. I love being in the commentary box for Saturday morning. There's never a dull moment in the commentary box. You never know quite what's going to happen next. And MotoGP is unpredictable. Live sport is unpredictable, and you're never quite sure what's next, because it's going to attack you around the corner.
Yeah, commentary, and we talk about this all the time. It's an art. It really is. And a lot of people say to us, "Oh, you guys should go and commentate." No fucking way. It is one of the most difficult arts on the planet.
Yeah,
to get that right. And
you know what, guys? It is. I'm just sorry to cut in here, guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
It is. I agree, but you could seriously. I'm sure you could, because I was in the same position. I was a journalist for 20 years. I was in my early 40s, so I kind of thought that any opportunity to be a commentator had long gone, long passed me by. And it was at the end of 20, I'm trying to get my maths right here, 2013 it would have been, when we used to do the overseas triple header swing. It
Mm.
always was Japan, Australia, Malaysia. End of 2013, Dorna had, because of their TV contracts over in that part of the world at that time, they did everything live. At that time, Dorna were not doing everything live
Mm.
on their broadcast. I think they were doing MotoGP and then Moto2, Moto3 qualifying and the races, but not everything live, not Moto2, Moto3 practice. Whereas over there, in that part of the world, at that time, they were, and they were like, "Oh man, Nick Harrison, it's too much for our two guys to be doing everything." So they just came to me and were like, "Hey, what are you doing on in Japan, Malaysia, Australia? Do you fancy coming in the commentary box and helping our guys out a little bit?" I went in, and of course, I was like, "Yeah, cool. That sounds mega. That sounds awesome. I'll do it." I went in the commentary box. And I remember in Japan, it was the first time, and I was sat next to who is the ultimate voice of MotoGP, Mr. Nick Harris.
Mm.
And I remember sitting next to Harry at the time, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, I have, I'm so far out of my depth here. What have I let myself in for? You absolute prat. You know, what are you doing? You know, because he was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting next to him and just going, I can't do that. I'll never be able to do that. You know, what was I thinking? But you grow into the role, you learn, and eventually experience, everything, it just all becomes second nature. Yeah, and that's how I started. In 2013 was that little spell with Dorna. In 2014, BT Sport, as now is known as TNT Sports in the UK, they got the UK rights for MotoGP, and they again had, not, well, they got commentators, but they one of their main commentators doing everything. So they were like, "Hey, mate, do you want to come and work with us on Moto2 and Moto3 practice sessions?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem, cool." Did that in 2014. Obviously, Dorna had carried on listening and were still interested. And then 2015, they were looking for a commentator, and
Hey, we lost you for a sec.
Sorry. Hello.
no,
Oh,
That's
you're back.
it. We're
You're back. Sorry.
back.
I'm
Sorry.
back, I'm back.
It's just, yeah. I mean, for you joining, Nick Harris in the commentary box, there's always a bit of a transition period with commentators, and I think in Formula One, for example, Martin Brundle, once he hangs up the boost, it's going to be a massive change, for them. But I found with Nick Harris retiring and you jumping on board, it was seamless, and I think that's very hard to do in main sport.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's humans are creatures of habit, aren't they? You know, we
Mm,
don't like change.
mm,
So, Nick was, I think, the voice of MotoGP for nigh on 20 years, and he had such a booming,
mm.
distinctive voice. I mean, I used to always used to travel with Harry when we were together at Dorna. Um, Fantastic character, had so many great stories from the past. I mean, he was a MotoGP in the 70s, working with like Kenny Roberts, Agostini, Barry Sheen. So his stories in the bar on Sunday nights were just legendary.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely
Wow.
fantastic. Um, but and it takes time for people to get used to change. For 20 years, people would tune in to watch MotoGP and they would just know it was Nick was going to be talking them through all the action, and it's like a comfy pair of slippers. You just sit back and you relax, and it's familiarity, and it's just like you know what to expect. And obviously, it was Nick Harris and me. Then it was me and Steve Dave for a short-lived period, and now it's me and Lewis. And don't get me wrong, guys. You're always going to have your knockers. I mean, when you sign up for this game, it's life. People aren't. Not everybody is going to like you. Nick Harris gave me the best piece of advice I ever had when I first jumped into the commentary box. He just said, "Hey, Bertie, look, mate, you're going to get people who are going to love you. You're going to get people who are going to despise you, who are going to hate you. You can't do anything about it. So don't get too carried away with the praise and don't get too down with the hits." And it was the
Mm.
best bit of advice that I ever got, because you just keep yourself on a level playing field. As long as I know that I leave the commentary box on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I think that I did my best, then that's good enough for me. And if you don't like it, well, I'm sorry about that. hopefully one day we'll win you over.
What fascinates me as well is you just always have to be on. Like, you can't come to
Yeah.
work. You might be in a shit mood, but you have to be on. There's no hiding in the corner. You know, that's the thing that fascinates me.
Well, we are obviously pretty good at hiding it because yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, of course, some days, you get up and you're a little bit knackered, or things are going on at home that you feel like, oh, that's just taking my attention or whatever. But I don't know, it's like a mental switch. It's like as soon as you hear the intro music, and as soon as you know that music goes quiet and you've got to start talking, then it's almost like it's like an autopilot mode, really.
You have to.
You just click into it, and you've got no choice. It's like when that sting comes, if you ain't talking, you've got a problem.
I want to take you back to 2025 post-season Valencia test. There was a lot of rain, riders weren't going out, and I think you had about 5 or 6 hours of just nothing on the track. Tom and I were talking, laughing, going, "How is he doing this? How are you?" There was one point you were commentating on the track workers sweeping the track, and you were doing a good job. Like, what goes on through your minds in those hours where you must be just trying to just get something?
Yeah, you would not believe, guys, the amount of times in the sort of 10 days before Valencia that I'm looking at my weather app for the Tuesday after Valencia, just with dread and fear, thinking like, Jesus Christ, if it's pissing down on that Tuesday, because I know that we are committed to, I think, 7 hours of live broadcasting, and it doesn't matter whether it's rain or shine, we're going to be on. We're going to be on air. So if it's pissing down with rain, there's every single Gary's door shut, and every rider's still sat in bed in his motorhome. We're going to be still waffling to the world.
It's not like cricket where they can put on the old, like in Australia when the cricket gets rained out, you put like an old test match or something so the commentators can say get saved.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. I mean, I know the Winter Olympics are going on right now, but I think we should get a gold medal in the bullshit Olympics.
I think you mentioned. I think you mentioned on the telecast, you're like, because I thought they were maybe going to delay it, and I think you said, "Oh, I'm going to play the catch. I got to get home. It's been a long fucking season."
No, absolutely. I was by hook or by crook.
Yeah,
I was on that plane out of Valencia on Tuesday night.
We felt that.
I was wild horses were not going to stop me getting out of Valencia on that Tuesday night.
Yeah. Oh, it's like getting to the end of a fucking marathon and they've just changed the goalpost on you or something. But yeah, unbelievable.
But again, guys, I mean, you do sort of. And unless you're thrown into that situation, and I know 100% if you guys had to do the same, I know you would do it because you've got knowledge, you've got passion for the sport, and you have no choice. It's like that we come on air at 9:50 a.m. that morning, 10 minutes before the track opens, and yeah, you're sitting. I'm looking at Lewis going, jack shit's gonna happen here, mate, for 3 hours, is it? We're gonna be just waffling here for 3 hours. Thank God we've got Jack down in pit lane, who's brilliant going and just grabbing everybody, all in. I know you guys had Jack on on the show recently, so you know what a brilliant crack Jack is. So he was like a godsend on that occasion. But you just get through it, you just plow on. And I've got 30 years of knowledge about the sport stored in my noggin, so hopefully I'll be able to get through it. Do you know what the worst one ever though was the British Grand Prix in 2018 at Silverstone, the race that never was. It got called off because, shock horror, it was pouring with rain in the UK for the British Grand Prix, and the track wasn't deemed safe enough, and we sat in a rickety old wooden commentary box on the outside of Woodcote, trying to plug leaks everywhere as there was water coming in the box, and and nothing happened. Nothing happened apart from a couple of road sweepers going out on track trying to clear away some of the standing water. And I think we were on air for 5.5 hours without one single bike going on circuit.
Wow.
We didn't cut, no ad breaks, of course, on our live. And I just thought if you can get through that, you can get through anything. So it was like Valencia last year felt like a breeze compared to Silverstone
That's
2018.
funny. That was probably my most excitable question I wanted to ask you about Valencia test. That's golden. Going into the past 5 years and Marc Marquez obviously coming back into the fold, do you find that MotoGP is more exciting with him back in the grid being competitive compared to, let's say, 2020, 2021, 2022, those years?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think you can really sort of hide from that fact. Um, l- let's be honest, Mark is going to be acknowledged as one of the greatest of all time, if not when he retires, the greatest of all time. I mean, how much more success does he still have in his locker? I mean, he's got the potential to maybe win another three, four, five championships. Um, and I think without being, this is obviously not knocking the show, not knocking other riders, but yeah, there's something different about the racing when Mark's on the grid, because you've instantly got a barometer of where the level is at because Mark is the best. Everybody will be judged against him. He's the reference. He's the guy that everybody looks to, and he's box office. He's all action. He just brings that something extra to the racetrack. I mean, how love him or hate. I've always thought this: love him or hate him. People think, oh, Matt Birt, Jesus Christ, will he stop talking about Marc Marquez? He's a Marc Marquez puppet. Do you know what, guys? I am purely, totally neutral. I could not care less who wins the championship. I am just there to watch great racing and watch these guys at the top of their game. The fastest guys in the world race the fastest motorcycles in the world around the fastest tracks in the world. Who it is that takes a checker flag first? Do I care? The only thing I care about is that we've got a great show. That's it. Are people enjoying what we do? But make no mistake about it. Mark is a genius. And I don't think anybody that watches MotoGP and looks at what he does and goes, how can you not admire that? How can you not be in awe? How can you not be in awe of what all of them are doing? What all 22 of them are doing is just off the scale nuts. It's crazy what these guys are doing. But, we don't really, unfortunately, see it as much as what we used to. Mark's genius at work. On the Ducati now, you don't see him as loose as what he was in the Honda. You don't see the big elbow slides as often as what we used to on the Honda, because that's when you really were just like, Jesus Christ, how does this guy do it? Now actually it looks like Mark's got everything relatively under control. But as you guys mentioned, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me personally, on the inside, yeah, there's extra spice, there's extra juice to it when Mark's on the grid.
Yeah, we talked about this late last year where Bez had a great last two races. Raul Fernandez won in Australia, which was incredible. But it's funny, we were sitting in the stands at Sepang, and I said to James, there's just something missing here today. I just don't know. Just not seeing Marquez there. It's just box office. He wins the race. It's still an exciting race. And I think that's the difference between, and we spoke about this with Joe Achilles last week about the greats of the sport, like a Schumacher, like a Rossi. If they dominate a race, it's still exciting. But if Raul Fernandez goes and dominates Australia, it's like, oh yeah, it's cool. A rookie's winning a race or a young kid's winning a race, but it's just missing some zing to it for whatever reason. So how we feel anyway.
I guess Mark's always does something controversial or hard move or something where it just... Tom, I've been in the motorcycle industry for 10 years, and I can easily say that Used Motos is one of the best people in the business. If you want credibility, reliability, and honest, these are the guys.
Funny you say that, James. I just received my new bike from Used Moto. Mate, the experience was second to none. It was delivered from Sydney to Melbourne. It was in perfect condition, cleaned, fueled. I've never had a better experience buying a bike. They deliver anywhere in Australia. So if you're after a new motorcycle, I would look nowhere else.
Tom, funny you say that. Their depth of motorcycle industry experience and their passion for bikes is amazing.
So guys, jump on their website, usemotos.com.au, or go see Brad down at the showroom in Rouse Hill in Sydney and tell them Motorsport Republica sent you.
It's just his riding style almost, where if you look at Pecco Bagnaia or Jorge Lorenzo when he was in his heyday. They would just take off out the front and do lap after lap after lap, which as a purist is amazing. You know, if they're doing
Yeah.
138.5s, 20 laps in a row, incredible. But as like a fan that just wants to see pure action or along those lines, Mark is where he has the zing, as you said.
Yeah, we all know this. I mean, this is stating the obvious, but the guy's a generational talent.
Mm.
You know, and for me, what makes Mark stand out from everybody else is when you talk to the other guys, the other riders, nobody knows better than those guys the talent that he's got. And you've only got to listen to some of the media scrums, the debriefs, guys that have ridden Hondas, guys that are now riding Ducatis, you know, guys that are directly compared to Mark on the same bikes. They can see his data. And these are guys that are top level world championship MotoGP riders who won MotoGP races. And for me, what makes Mark stand out is when they go, I look at his data, I see what he's doing on circuit. I can't do that. I cannot do that. I can't do what that guy is doing. You know, I've tried and I'm on my ass, or I've
Yeah.
tried and I run wide, or I've tried and I lose it. I'm a second lap slower. There are things that only he can do on two wheels on planet Earth, and for me, that is what sets him apart from everybody else. You know, he's a unique talent,
Mm.
and that's why I think, you know, I understand why some people don't like him. I mean, obviously, you've got the VR46 clan and what happened in 2015. Sorry for bringing it up again, guys. He's going to stick in the throat for a long, long time. But you know, just from a talent perspective, Mark is just next level,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I think real fans of MotoGP, the real fans of the sport, know this. And
Couldn't agree
yes, as a
more. Yeah, couldn't agree
VR46
more.
fans, and I think that's been a massive problem with this whole feud, is he's just one-eyed, you know, on social media, and you know, that's
And
just that. Yeah,
I think actually a lot of people are becoming Mark converts
mm,
Yeah.
because they've realised they've actually, and these are your MotoGP fans as well, because they've actually gone, crikey, you know what this guy has been through, the sacrifice that he's made. You know, it's not about the money. Mark's got more money than he'll ever know what to do with for the rest of his life. It's just about proving to nobody else other than himself, you know, am I still good enough? Can I still do it? If my body is in relatively full working order, am I still the guy to beat in MotoGP? And as we have seen over the last couple of years, yes, he is. And
Mm.
and for Mark, you know, for MotoGP fans, long that may
Mm.
continue for
Mm.
him, because it's an incredible feel good story.
Mm. Ah, completely agree. Do you think it is a was a detriment for Pecco Bagnaia last year having Mark as teammate? Because obviously we've never seen a season like it where he's been so up and so down. Do you think that really did play a role in maybe his psyche?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, 100%. You know, I mean, I think um, Mark's a different beast to anything else that Pecco had encountered before in his career. Um, you know, this is with respect to Jack Miller and Enea Bastianini, who were Pecco's previous factory Ducati teammates. You know, in their own right, fantastic riders, phenomenal riders, um, but not a Marc Marquez. You know, Pecco was kind of always in that comfort zone, I think, where he always felt that no matter what Jack or Enea did, he was always going to be that little bit better than them. He would always have the upper hand in that garage. He would always have their measure. Maybe not every race, but over the course of a 20 round, 22 round season, you know, I don't think anybody really thought that Pecco Bagnaia was going to lose to Jack or to Enea. But Mark's a completely different animal. I mean, I remember in the commentary box in Valencia at the test, as we were doing a little bit of filling, as you were well aware, it was scrambling around. I was scrambling around on my phone while Lewis was talking, just going, messaging press officers galore. Any contact I had going, have you got anybody that might be a guest potential to come down to our commentary box right now to speak to us? And Danny Pedrosa came down, thanks to KTM. They sent Danny down. And of course, he was Mark's teammate for so many years at Honda. First-hand experience of what it was like to be Marc's teammate. And I asked Danny a question like, obviously a lot of people are talking about what a disastrous year it was for Bagnaia, up and down like a bloody roller coaster at Disneyland. And what was it like? Is Marc so intimidating? How difficult is it to be his teammate? And is this a reason, or one of the reasons why Pecco has found it so hard? And Danny was like, yeah, bang on. It's very, very difficult to be Marc's teammate because one, he's so bloody fast. Two, he's got unwavering confidence and unwavering self-belief in himself. He's very, very good at getting people on board. Like it didn't really take long last year for a garage that felt like it was completely the domain of Bagnaia to feel like it was actually um, Marc's garage, like it was Marc's box, like it was Marc that was the guy that had been there 6 or 7 years, and Pecco was the guy that was stepping in. It's because it's that sort of magnetic personality that the guy has, and this mentality of like, I'm your guy. I'm the guy that will continue to bring success to this box. So I don't think there is any question that Marc's presence in that garage influenced Pecco for 1 second. I mean, it did. It clearly did. And it's going to be fascinating to see how Pecco responds this year because it's so many subplots to the championship this year. One of them being, well, how does Bagnaia react to the onslaught he copped last year?
Yeah. Actually, when Jack Appleyard was on the pod, he threw a grenade at us and talked about Acosta signing for Ducati, just to switch things up for quickly. 2027, is that if that happens, if that's on the cards, where do we see Bagnaia going?
Yeah, I mean, there's no smoke without fire, is there, guys? And that Acosta Ducati rumor doesn't seem to be going away. Nobody's sort of like, we're very easy for Acosta to come out and go, man, no, that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm happy to stay at KTM. Pretty obvious, isn't it, that Acosta's wanted out of KTM for quite some time now. He's lost trust in their ability to take him to the top of the World Championship. I mean, if the rumors are to be believed that Acosta's going to Ducati, Quattarara's going to Honda, bring it on. Fantastic. I'm all for a big shake-up of the grid. When there are 19 out of the 22 riders out of contract, the last thing I think we all want is for them all just to go, yeah, well, I'll just stay put. Thank you very much. We'll all just keep the status quo and we'll have another 2 years of exactly the same. So, what we need is keep crucially as well some of the big stars, Quattararo and Acosta, who I think personally are probably the only two guys that really could, on top level competitive bikes, take it to Marc week in, week out. Coming back to your original question, where does Bagnaia go? I wouldn't be surprised. I'd quite like to see him personally go to Aprilia. That would be where I'd like to see him go. Because I mean, I know obviously the sort of the big talk at the moment, and Pecco said in Sepang that he's got really good options, which is cool. I mean, obviously he's going to, at the end of the day, he is a double MotoGP world champion. But I think it would be a big call right now to throw yourself into Yamaha.
Yeah.
Big call.
Well,
Yeah,
it's like,
Martin's leaving. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, Martin going to Yamaha. For me, Jorge Martin's like a crazy ex-girlfriend you keep going back to, because 1 week you love him, 1 week you hate him, and then you get respect back, and then it's just, for me, I mean, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he's got, he's top 5 rider on the grid, but for him to go to Yamaha, I just after all this, I just can't believe that could happen. So
yeah, I mean, I must admit, I was quite taken aback of all the kind of rumors that have been floating around the paddock when Martin to Yamaha came out. I was genuinely like, really, like, I mean, talk about out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy has just had an absolute horror show on Aprilia. I mean, obviously, we don't know how good Jorge's going to be on the Aprilia till this year, because last year was a write-off year. Forget it. You can't make any serious judgment, any accurate judgment about his potential on the Aprilia. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we know that he wanted to jump last year and go to Honda for this year. Already, there's noises before we've turned away in anger this year that he wants to leave Aprilia. So something's not right there. But you can come on, guys. The only reason right now why you would go to Yamaha is for a big old fat check,
Mm.
because it's not going to be going because you think the machinery is competitive. They're coming off the back of a nightmare Sepang test. They are. It looks like, to all intents and purposes, Fabio is going to leave, which is a massive blow for them. And we all know the numbers, guys. It's been public. You know, Fabio Quartararo is on 12.5 million euros a year. If Fabio buggers off, well, that frees up quite a lot of cash for another rider to jump in, who's probably going to go, well, I'll take half of that, no problem. I'll come and ride for you for 5 or 6 million euros, in the hope that Yamaha will find something, you know. But at the moment, hard sell for Yamaha management, I think, to convince anybody to jump on an M1 right now.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And then, coming out of the Sepang test, it looked like obviously Toprak is not the happiest camper. He's only been riding MotoGP for 6, 7 days of testing, but it's always going to be a hard slog if you're on that Yamaha, even for someone like Toprak.
You know, you guys know just as much as I do. You know, MotoGP these days is brutal. The level is so high. So it'd be bloody hard for Toprak to come into MotoGP if he was on a Ducati. It'd be
Mm.
bloody hard for him to come in if he was on a Aprilia. It's just so damn tough. You know, so to come in on a proven competitive racing machine would have been hard for the guy. But so to come in on a Yamaha, which at the moment clearly is at the bottom of the pile in terms of performance, they are starting from scratch with a brand new project. I kind of doff my cap to Toprak, and admire him for jumping in right now, because you know Yamaha's not at the level. He's got so much to learn in terms of that transition in riding style from a production-based World Superbike, that's a lot more forgiving than a stiff, rigid MotoGP bike. And the tires are going to be a massive thing for him to learn. To
Mm.
go from Pirelli to Michelin is just a massive thing, massive thing. I really admire him and I really respect him for jumping in right now, because I think the easy option for him would have been to have gone, well, I'm the kingpin in World Superbikes. I will be the kingpin in World Superbikes in 2026 if I stay. And then I'll come to MotoGP in 2027 when everybody's starting from scratch on new bikes. Everybody's on Pirelli tires as well, which I know from World Superbike. So I've got a lot of respect for him jumping in right now. But yeah, as you guys mentioned, the noises coming out the top rack camp in Sepang were not exactly buzzing, were they? I mean, first and foremost, psychologically, for a guy that just systematically every time he gets off a bike looks at the timing screens and goes, "Oh, there I am." At worst, he's going to be second behind Buliga, but not normally he's top. To have to go a long way down the screen to find your name immediately, psychologically, that's just a bit of a blow to deal with.
Yeah, it really is. It's such as you said, there's just so many subplots to this season.
Yeah.
And Toprak is a big one. You know, understanding where, as we talked about, Bagnaia and where he ends up, because like Pecco Bagnaia must have a lot of pressure on him to really perform on that Ducati, because you've already got a Costa breathing down his neck. You've got Marc Marquez as your teammate. And then the other person that everyone keeps forgetting about is Alex Marquez. And, he's on a factory Cassini now, and he was sensationally fast last year. And no one saw it coming. It has to be one of the biggest turnarounds you've seen in Grand Prix racing.
Yeah, I mean, I think of that whole Ducati scenario last year, there was like the two major surprises were just how off it Pecco was for most of the season, and then just how good. Sorry guys, just hang on a second. My mum's.
No, you're okay.
Get it if you want, mate. It's all
I'll
good.
I'll let it go straight to voicemail.
Look, we're in school again.
She really does pick her moments, doesn't she?
Yeah.
My mum's 52. I'm more than capable of doing a podcast on my own. Don't worry about it. What was Alex and Pecco? She's just completely thrown me now. Yeah. I mean, Alex was unbelievable. I mean, like you said, who saw that coming? I mean, I think Alex in Buriram last year, getting on the podium in the sprint and in the Grand Prix, in the first round of last year, scored more podiums than what he did in the whole of 2024,
Wow.
which was just insane.
Mm.
And then fair play to Alex, it was momentum's a great thing in sport, and he got that early momentum and he just rolled with it, and he just built on it, built on it. There was that sort of blip around the mid-season, wasn't helped by the big crash and the injury he got in Assen. But Alex is a classic example of somebody that maximized the opportunity that came his way.
Mm.
He got a bike that he was clearly comfortable with. He got into a team where he was very, very comfortable with, very, very happy. Good environment for Alex. There was not the pressure of being in the factory team for him to deliver. And I think deep down, Alex knows, he has seen, he's grown up with Mark, they're brothers, they're super, super close. And I think deep down, Alex knows himself that he's not got the natural talent that Mark has. But Alex is a great example of what an unbelievable work ethic and really getting everything out of yourself, both on and off the bike. It shows what you can do. And will Alex beat Mark in the championship this year? I don't think so.
Mm.
Will Alex be second in the World Championship this year? He's got a great shout at it. Will he be harder? I think so, because he's got a bit of a target on his back right now. Bagnaia is certainly going to want to get a bit of revenge on Alex. But yeah, where'd you go with Bagnaia? I mean, I've said before, guys, like I 30 years in the sport, and I've never ever seen anything quite like those 7 days on the flyways last year where we were in Japan and the guy cleaned up. Like he didn't just win, he just mullered the opposition. It was like vintage Bagnaia. And then we go to Mandalika 7 days later, and he's last, and he's nowhere. And it's like, how can that happen? How can a guy go from winning one week to being last the following week? It wasn't like he went from winning to sixth or seventh. He went from winning to last and looking lost. And that can't happen. That can't happen at this level. Not you're on. Mark said it. Oh, has always said it brilliantly. If you're on a factory team in MotoGP, you got one job, and that's to win. End of.
Oh yeah, and yeah, it was hero to zero, and I'm glad you said that, because we've never seen anything like it, and it's a question we ask a lot of people we meet. Have you ever seen anything in world sport like this, where you're dominating one weekend and you're in nowhere behind test riders, and then we watch him in Phillip Island. And he's, I think Piero got told to slow down.
But it almost looked
It's
like
just
it.
incredible. Like, we're watching it live. I'm thinking, how is this happening? So, what's your thoughts on sprint races as a fan, and also as you work in the sport?
I like them. I do like the sprints. I mean, unfortunately, we have to be honest. We haven't sort of had a lot of classic sprints. Recently, and it does seem like, although there's world championship points at Graz nowadays, the sprints are used more to sort of data gathering exercises for the main Grand Prix on Sunday. But I think they've added something to the show. I mean, like it's certainly made the weekend dynamic, I think, a lot more exciting. Certainly from our perspective. I think if you ask a mechanic in MotoGP or a rider in MotoGP, they're going to be going like, no, we're constantly just like this now for the whole weekend, because from FP1 you're out there having a bust to get a lap time. But yeah, I like them. I was always for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's been like there was a, what do you call it? The purists who are like, the racing's all about the Grand Prix on a Sunday. You build up to it through the course of the weekend, but the sport has to evolve, guys. We're living in constantly changing times. People are watching MotoGP in different ways. They're consuming their content in different ways, and I like the sprints. And I think now if we drop them, it would be to the detriment of the championship. I'd like to see maybe a few more exciting sprints than what we were getting towards the last sort of year or so. But yeah, I mean, you guys are fans. I mean, what do you think? I mean, are you pro sprinters?
We like, for us in Down Under in Australia, you got to remember a European race is 10 p.m. at night. And I think on a Saturday night, 11 p.m. is the sprint race usually for us. It's an awesome viewing, because you get home or you've been out and you've got something to look forward to. We love it. Absolutely love it down here.
Well, I think as well, another thing as well, I think they're a great selling point to show what is great about MotoGP because it's 20 minutes. A sprint
Mm.
lasts for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We know nowadays, like as I just mentioned, people are consuming their content, their TV, their sport in a whole host of different ways. Well, if you've only got a sort of wherever you are in the world, whether it's on a Saturday night for you guys in Oz or here in Europe in the mid afternoon, if you're only going to have if you've only got to think, well, I've only got to commit 20 minutes to watch this, then that's brilliant.
Mm.
It's short, sharp, it's quick. A MotoGP race on a Sunday, if you're only into MotoGP, it's 40 minutes.
Uh,
You know, I think it's Formula One races are what I don't watch Formula One. Are they what 2 hours long? A football match is 90 minutes,
yeah.
half time. It's like it's a 2 3 hour commitment to sit down and watch a lot of other sports where MotoGP is short, sharp, it's in your face, 200 miles an hour, gladiatorial stuff.
Mm.
Come on. If you're not watching it, watch it. Come on.
Yeah, 100%. And look, MotoGP is bubbling at the surface. We say that, but just quickly before I want to talk to you about that. But before that, you talk about sprint racing and how it maybe hasn't been as exciting, which I agree. Are you just annoyed when a race finishes and they're like tire pressures, tire pressures, tire pressures, or Marc Marquez lets Pedro Acosta through in Bruno? Like it's obviously a part of the show, but do you want that to be a part of the show where a lead rider who's clearly faster than everyone else has to slow down to let someone through to get past his tire pressure rule?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be very careful what I say right now. Obviously, with my Dorna shirt hanging up in the
Fair
wardrobe
enough.
down in the down. No, but I can answer that question, of course. Yeah, come on, guys. We all just want to see pure out and out racing, don't we? What we
Mm,
want is from the moment that green light goes out to the moment the guy crosses the line to the checkered flag, you are going balls out, full throttle. That's it. You're not having to worry about outside influences being part of the championship. Do I understand why the tire pressure rule is in place? Absolutely.
mm,
Um, is it a good thing? Well, that's debatable. Um, because I think the one time that it really properly cheesed me off, because let's be honest, like you guys said, do we want to see Mark rolling off in Burram like he did last year at round one? Do we want to see him rolling off in Brno? No, of course we don't, because we don't want to see one of the best riders in the world shot the throttle and thinking, oh, I've got to drop back a couple of places to try and, cool my front tire down. But it brings talking points.
mm.
A lot of people were talking about Burram because of what happened.
It adds
The
to
only
the
time where
show.
I thought,
Mm.
you know what, this sucks, was I think it was in God. When do we think? When we come on, Bertie, get your brain in gear. Valencia, 2024, or was it 23? The Gian Antonio got on the podium in Valencia
23.
and then got busted.
Yeah.
23, what's
Yeah.
23? Fabio got on the podium and got busted with the tire pressure penalty. And that was the only time I was thinking, this doesn't look good for MotoGP
Mm.
because he did the podium celebration. He came to the press conference, which I hosted, and he was obviously delirious and was super happy. And behind the scenes, it was all going to be taken away from him. So yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer. But hopefully in the future, when Pirelli come in, we're going to see some changes on that aspect. But yeah, we're all race fans. We all love
Yeah.
watching these guys go balls to the wall for 40 minutes on a Sunday, 20 minutes on a Saturday, and that's what we tune in to watch. So yeah, hope that's what we get a bit more of this year.
Yeah. On 27, what do you think of these new changes coming in? Is it enough? Do you think with Aero and et cetera, et cetera?
Um, I mean, I think there is a general consensus in the paddock that something needs to be done to slow the bikes down a little bit.
Hmm.
You know, downforce from the aero, the ride height devices now, and how they just darting out of corners, and just developments in the engines as well. I mean, these things are chucking out 300 horsepower now, and you know, the performance of the bikes at some circuits, it's outgrowing the infrastructure of the circuits. I'm sure in probably 2 or 3 years' time, the bikes are going to be going probably just as fast. Yeah, initially there's going to be a disparity in performance. The ride height device, I think, are going to make a big difference.
Mm.
They have transformed the sport. I mean, I'm sure you guys. I mean, I can't remember who put it up on social media quite recently. There was a side shot of Joan Mir at the Sepang test. I think he was accelerating out of
Could have been
turn
Matt Oxley
13.
uploaded that.
Yeah, I think it was Oxo. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was amazing.
it
I've never
looked
seen
like
a bike like it.
I looked at it, and if you
Yeah.
looked at that pre-ride height device, you'd have gone, shit, the rear suspension's collapsed. Like the shock has dropped through the swing arm or something here. Like, what is going on? Because that thing is it's like a chopper. Clearly a massive performance enhancing part of a motorcycle. And, for me, you want to see the best talent, the best riders winning with the sort of minimal amount of external influence possible. It has to be more onus on the rider than the technical side of the sport, and I think it will. The banning of ride height devices will put more back into the right hand of the rider. It will be more about rider skill. Looking at the aero reduction, I'm not so sure that's going to have a massive influence. You're never going to ban aero. Aero has been the massive boom in development over the last few years. Manufacturers invested so much money. That was going to be a compromise. The sport, the governing bodies wanted less. The manufacturers, I'm sure the governing bodies would have wanted to just get rid of it. But the compromise was, we need aero. It's a benefit. So I think the bikes will be slower, the lap times will be slower, but I don't think it'll take too long to catch up, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we've seen MotoGP bikes doing 220 miles an hour down straights. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane. And I think justifiably so. We have to look at it from a safety point of view, because at some circuits now, when the bikes are at this level of performance, safety has to be first and foremost.
Yeah,
Some places the walls are getting a little bit too close.
Yeah.
You have to say.
Yeah, completely agree. Fully understand.
I mean, they are the slippery slope is they're prototypes, and everyone forgets this. They're we're not racing world superbikes here, and we had this conversation a couple of years ago about banning aero, and we should ban aero. But at the end of the day, they're on production bikes now, aero, and they are a prototype from the manufacturer to show what we can do.
100%. Yeah, absolutely 100%. This is not just in terms of rider skill. MotoGP is not just a showcase and a platform for rider skill and rider talent. It's also a place for engineering expertise, and an engineering skill to come to the fore. And as you say, absolutely, it's a prototype series. We don't want to be stagnating or diminishing, engineering talent. You want to see progress made. You want to see new technologies experimented with. But I think it can't be to the detriment of the sport. It can't be to the detriment of the spectacle.
Yeah.
And maybe some of these rider aids over the last couple of years have maybe taken it too much away for the talent of the rider. Don't get me wrong. I'm not diminishing with these guys at all. Riding a MotoGP bike nowadays is physically draining, mentally taxing. I mean, just to get the things off the bloody line, it's like a minefield. Pushing this button, pushing that button. And I find it fascinating. Listen to Diogo Moreira after the Sepang test. The one thing he's really having his brain fried at the moment is he's struggling to understand the optimal moment to activate the ride height device on corner exit. Because a guy that comes up from Moto2, there's just so much more they've got to deal with. More power, more weight, different tires. a shit ton more of electronic options, engine braking, traction control, you name it, ride height devices, aero, downforce. I mean, it's enough to frazzle anybody's brain, let alone a MotoGP rider that can make split seconds decisions, in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a very good point you make, and it's always an interesting watching those rookies evolve over during the season. But I just want to ask you, Moto 3 and commentating that series, is it the easiest series in the world to commentate because it's always so exciting, and then you're commentating 10 riders going into turn one in Mugello, or is it just so much going on that you almost can't get enough words out? Because I think as a purist, it's the best racing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Moto 3 is just bonkers, isn't it? Like, let's be perfectly honest. It's absolutely batshit crazy. I mean, yeah, Moto 3, sometimes I feel absolutely drained at the end of a Moto 3 race. And I can sort of, I'm thinking the old vocal cords are like getting a bit tired and a bit sore. You're thinking, shit, I've still got Moto 2, MotoGP to come after this because. Yeah, I mean, you do not get, it's very, very rare that you get any kind of moment to pause to gather your thoughts in a Moto 3 race because as soon as it's lights out to check a flag, there's something happening. They're going down a back straight, breaking the first corner, 10, 12 abreast. There's
Yeah.
overtaking everywhere. I mean, you really have to be on it. I mean, I find Moto 3 actually the races just flash by because you just waffling, talking so damn quick. But God, it's so tiring because so much is happening. Like you said, I mean, you're halfway through a sentence. Sometimes you're halfway through a bloody word, and it's changed.
Yeah.
You're constantly reacting, and yeah, I mean, there are times when you just think, well, what have I just watched? What just went on there? I mean, it's just balmy. I mean, sometimes you're kind of watching it through your fingers almost because it's pretty close. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's awesome racing.
Mm.
I mean, I hope a lot of people, if they are getting into MotoGP, and of course, MotoGP is the elite level, it's the top class, but watch Moto 3 because
Mm.
yeah, you're not disappointed because every race just seems to be like an all-time classic at the moment.
Yeah, it is definitely. We spoke about this earlier, sort of touched on it, but bubbling at the service for us MotoGP the next couple of years. Let's talk about the positives because Liberty Media coming in. What's positive impact is that going to have? Do you think?
Um, a little bit too early, I think, to sort of say mid to long term what the impact will be. Um, I can only see it as being a really good thing.
Mm.
I mean, Liberty Media have a proven track record across a whole multitude of entertainment businesses where they have taken something that was already a very good, attractive, viable working product and only enhanced it and taken it to another level. Formula One being the classic example of that. And I can only see them doing the same with MotoGP. They're very new into it. They're coming into it with a very fresh perspective. But I can only see it being a, a brilliant thing for the championship. What they've proven to in the past is um, they get more eyeballs onto a sport. MotoGP, as we all know, already has a fantastic product.
Mm.
All of the basic ingredients are there for MotoGP. But for any kind of sport, for any entertainment business, you need an exciting product, and we already have that. So now their mission will be, okay, well, we've got this brilliantly uh, visually entertaining sport. We've got a sport where these guys literally every time they throw a leg over a motorcycle, they're risking their lives. These are normal looking guys that are doing something superhuman. They're going down start-finish straights at 220 miles an hour. They're going through corners at 100 miles an hour with their knee and elbow on the deck. We've got a visually great sport. We just need now, Liberty Media need to find a way to get more people to tap into it, more people to watch it. And that's where their expertise will come in. Because more eyeballs on the sport means more investment in the sport, more money coming into sport, more sponsorship. So I can only see upsides to it. From a personal point of view, what have I seen already so far in the paddock? Not a great deal because it's still very, very early days. I know behind the scenes they're making a lot of sort of key appointments in terms of marketing and commercial to drive more eyeballs onto the championship. In Valencia, for example, last year, the last round of the season, there was the mother of all uh, VIP villages. So if you're fortunate to have the disposable income to come to see MotoGP from that side of the fence, clearly they're elevating it to go, okay, if you are going to be spending on this is just the number I'm putting off the top of my head. If you've got $3,000 to come to a MotoGP race, well, first and foremost, great. But if you're coming, you're coming to a premium product. We've got this really lavish Swish VIP hospitality.
Tom, motorheaven.com.au. I want to know your 10 favorite things about Motorheaven.
Oh, Jimmy, that's just too easy, mate. I'm on their website now. They have the largest range of motorcycle products online in Australia. The largest. The user experience just shits over anything else on the net. You get a free visor cleaner with any helmet purchase over $200. Motorheaven next tube with any jacket purchase over $200.
God damn.
Forget that Qantas points garbage. It's all about the loyalty program at Motorheaven. Motorcycle part finder, local customer support, quick dispatch, as we know, James. Unreal Google reviews, 100,000 customers they've had over the years. Proudly Aussie owned and operated by the world famous Adrian Letty. Get down to Motorheaven or go on their website, motorheaven.com.au.
Motorheaven.com.au. OGs of the pod. We love them. Check out motorheaven.com.au now.
I think what they will do, they will probably, and maybe some purists won't like this, they will focus a lot on MotoGP. They recognise that MotoGP is where it's at. That's your number one priority. That's where the superstars are. Of course, you don't want it doesn't need to be the detriment of the smaller classes where your future stars are coming. But in the present, it's your Marc Marquez's, your Fabio Quartararo's, your Pedro Acostas, which are going to bring new viewers to the sport. So, for example, there was a change in the way that the paddock was set up last year in Europe, in particular. There was the MotoGP hospitalities were directly behind the garages. So immediately, like if you were a guest of a team or a sponsor of a team or even a potential sponsor of a team, you felt that close connection to the garage. It's like, and you felt part of it, rather than the pit box being there and then 300 meters further back was the hospitality. They're now linked close together. So it was like, you felt like, well, I can leave here. It's a 20-minute walk to the garage. I'm 20 meters away from seeing Marc Marquez in person. They're going to probably give more garage space to MotoGP. So I think what we'll see more and more is MotoGP will clearly be their prime product. And I'm not, of course, that they're not going to just go, oh, well, sod Moto3 and Moto2. Because that's where the future stars of the sport are coming from. But MotoGP will be their main emphasis for sure.
Yeah, because we're hearing rumors that possibly Moto3 won't go to every round in the future. I don't know if you've heard that as well.
There's been all kinds of talk about that for a while.
Yeah.
But I believe, I'm not saying this with cast iron 100% certainty, but I believe that there's no immediate or midterm plan to have anything other than all three classes at every single Grand Prix for the foreseeable future.
That's good news.
I think that that everybody connected to the sport recognizes that for as long as anybody can remember, MotoGP has always been about three classes, and I don't think I've not heard of that rumor gaining any more traction than just being a rumor over the last period of time. For sure, it's been talked about. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at the way that the sport can evolve, it has become harder and harder over the last few years for teams to attract out external investment. And now we're running 22 races. A lot of them are overseas races. It's expensive to go to those races, but I do think that there's a recognition that, part of the appeal of MotoGP is that you have a sprint for MotoGP on a Saturday, and then you have your 3 Grand Prix classes on a Sunday. And I can't see that changing for the foreseeable. Well, that you watch now, next week there'll be a press release comes out from Dorna. Moto3 not going to every single race.
That's funny. What's your favorite round to travel to? Probably outside of Europe's probably the big question. Do you like going to those Asian Mandalika races? You love coming to the island?
I really do. Yeah, I love going outside of Europe. I mean, if you ask me about my favorite European Grand Prix, anybody that's watching this in Australia, if you've got a bucket list European Grand Prix to come to, and you're sitting on the fence about which one, I'd say probably Mugello. It would be right up there. Jerez for sure. But yeah, that Asia Australia swing at the end of the year, I love it. It's just it's brilliant. Because you get so many different contrasts. You go to Japan, where the fans bring all these crazy gifts to riders. They're all very respectful. They're in the crowd. Sometimes I make the mistake in Japan. I'm going, listen to the noise of the crowd, and they'll cut to, because it's just sort of like habitual thing. And then the directors listen to it, and they cut the crowd. And the Japanese are just sitting there going, in their sort of very polite, reserved, traditional Japanese way. And then of course, guys. I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm on the Motorsport Republica Aussie podcast, but I mean, I came to Phillip Island for the first time in '96 for World Superbikes. Straight after the Grand Prix was in Eastern Creek, and loved the place. Just a phenomenal circuit. The location, the circuit itself, is top 3 on the calendar for me. But I've got to say, one of the brilliant additions to the championship has been Mandalika. Great place to go to. Not maybe the easiest place to go to, but if you can get there, not a hard place to go for you Aussies, I don't think.
No, definitely not.
About a 5-hour flight to Indonesia.
Yeah, not a million miles away from Bali. So, I mean, Lombok's just I don't know. There's just this real cool vibe to it. The Indonesian fans obviously are completely mad for MotoGP. Lombok actually has put up a strong case for being in my top 3.
Wow.
I'm lucky to have so many circuits I've been to down the years to pick from. But on the current calendar, I'd say Europe, Jerez, Mugello, and then Lombok or Phillip Island. Although my advice, if you're doing Lombok and Phillip Island together, pack half your suitcase with your flip-flops and your shorts and your t-shirt, and then pack half of your suitcase if you're going to the Antarctic.
Well, we did the Phillip Island Malaysia double last year, and it was a smack in the face as soon as you landed in the plane. You're like, what the fuck's going on here?
It's so hot. And people come to Australia thinking it's hot.
Sepang actually almost feels as much of an Australian Grand Prix now as what the Australian Grand Prix feels like, because so many people, I guess, who live in Perth or in sort of Darwin or the Northern Territories, it's actually easy for them to get to KL than what it is to get to Phillip Island. So I'm always sort of walking through our commentary box in Malaysia. You have to go. Well, you guys have been to Sepang, so you know where the paddock is, you know where the media centre is. There's like a tunnel underneath the circuit, and the commentary box are at the top of the main grandstand. So you have to walk briefly through the public area. And the amount of times, I'm going to apologise for this now, guys, because I'm going to roll out the shittest Australian accent you've ever heard in your life. But the amount of time you just casually walk in, you can go, Jesus, there's Matt Birt.
That was good.
There's Aussies everywhere, Don't worry, don't worry. That's the only Aussie accent I'm
You
going to
fucking
pull.
nailed that.
Yeah, that was
You
good.
Otherwise,
nailed
I'm gonna get ripped.
You nailed it. That
That was
good.
very good. That was more Aussie than most Aussies, I reckon.
Well, it just shows I spent a lot of time with Aussies down the years. So
Yeah, clearly. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. Listening to you and your take on MotoGP and the history has been so fascinating.
Yeah.
An absolute pleasure having you on. We really appreciate it.
no, likewise, guys. It's been a pleasure to chat to you guys. Hopefully, see you soon. When are you guys coming to your first Grand Prix this year?
Well, funnily enough, I had a couple of beers on Saturday night. Drunk text the hotel in Buriram we stayed at last year. I said, "Is there any rooms available?" And they said, "We've got one left." So we've booked it. We're coming to Buriram. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. So
Awesome, awesome.
yeah,
Oh, cool. That's great stuff, guys.
yeah.
Sorry to have kept you waiting for so long.
No, it's
No, you're good.
Thanks to all you guys. Love what you're doing. Keep
Yeah.
up the good work. And
No,
well,
thank you.
we'll catch up maybe for a Chang or two in Buriram in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
Sounds great to
That
us.
sounds amazing.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, mate.